Hello, everybody, and welcome in to PGR eSports' Intimidator Superspeedway Series. Live tonight in the Gen 6 cars from the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway. And we got a little bit more of a special format here tonight. We have heats, and so we're going to be determining the drivers that make the race, more importantly, their starting grid here tonight through these two 10-lap heats. But before we get to that, Matt Mettler joining us back in the booth. It's been a few weeks. Matt, good to have you back. How you feeling here tonight?
Man, I feel fired up, ready to rock and roll. Great to be back here on the #1 money racing and iRacing, right up here in PGR eSports country, alongside the man, the myth, the legend, talking about you, as this field is set to rock and roll behind that iRacing.com pace car, my friend.
Field is getting ready to roll, so let's get right into it with tonight's starting grid. Heat number 1. Kevin Freese takes the pole, puts down a 52.005, starts from the inside of row 1. Daniel Falkingham, one of the Coke drivers and a College Series driver, he starts second tonight. Then it'll be Kyler Wynn, the Canadian driver for the Jack Shack, back in third. Dylan Jones to his outside in fourth. Christopher Carter back in fifth. And it's going to be William Price to his outside in sixth. Matt Lee, Cody Nagels, two of the Nightmare Esports teammates back in row 4. Landon Velicki, Michael Triscaro round out your top 10.
John Mullahan's going to start on that 11th place position in the 10 ride, while Michael Guess going to be outside him. He's going to roll off there in that 12th place position. Chandler Parsons in the 72 machine out of North Carolina. He's going to roll off P13, while that the 60 of Jeff Murdoch's going to roll off 14th. Top into the top 15, Larry McDonald in the 80 machine. Outside of him in the 3, Nolan Lurch rolling off 17th. That's going to be Hunter Hastings in the 22. Outside of him from Illinois, Tyler Forby, excuse me if I pronounced that wrong. Starting inside the top 20 in that 19th place position, the 51 of Josh McKinney, and rounding out your top 20, Justin Edwards.
Nathan Harper starts 21st. Rajah Caruth in the field here tonight, one of the real-life NASCAR drivers. He starts 22nd. And then you've got Joshua McCullough. He'll round out the field here for heat number 1, as he will start back in 23rd. Looking at the heat format again, 2 heats to kick off qualifying here tonight. Each heat will be 10 laps. Cautions are enabled, but they are relaxed. Talladega Superspeedway, just over 2.5 miles in length, and a great place for these cars. You're going to see a lot of pushing and shoving. Time to determine who's going to make the big show tonight. Here we go. Green flag is in the air. We are racing at Talladega.
First lap in the books, and it's Kevin Fries out in front as he carries the torch. But we have problems out there on the racetrack. Multiple cars around, and this is going to be the first caution on the evening. As the big one pops off here early. That Lowe's machine got used and abused. Multiple other cars involved, including Hunter Hastings there as well. Joshua McCullough. Austin, not the way some of these drivers were looking to kick this race off.
Not the way at all, and this is the concern that you kind of have when you get in these heat races. I mean, it's good preparation, of course, for the main event, but, and you know, I did want to mention this before I guess we actually go back and look at the replay. There won't be any drivers that actually get eliminated from these heats. The top 25 advance to the feature, so really all these heats are doing is just getting these guys some extra racing, some extra practice, and you know, just a little bit of extra bang for their buck, if you will, before we get to the feature later. So these wrecks aren't going to bring any nights to a full end, but it could certainly bring some qualifying efforts to a potential end here tonight. Let's see what happens here. This is going to be back in the Tribal. They were just starting to fan out. I mean, you can see they're 3 wide right here. And if we go to the blimp cam, watch what happens. You're just going to see a little bit of 4 wide just briefly back to 3. Looks like the 22 car shoots up the racetrack. That's not where the contact starts. Ooh, there it is, the 72.
Yep.
Going to be the first car to get turned. That's Chandler Parsons. Then once he goes up the track, he's going to collect the rest of the guys behind him just about.
Yeah, the 72 lit the wick and then went up the racetrack, and the bomb went off. things happen at this racetrack quick, fast, and as a hurry. You can see as we slow things down, the 72 absolutely uncorks a howitzer there into the 56. And it's game over from there. Multiple cars facing the wrong way there. The 34 is going to slide up the racetrack. A little bit of self-inflicted concrete poisoning there. Again, as that Lowe's machine goes helicopter mode, and it's pretty much hold on for your life here early. But like you said, Austin, not so much going to be a knockout punch for this race as we take a look at this one more time, but certainly could have these drivers starting a little further in this field than they would like to when it gets time to go green flag racing in the big show.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out, again, everybody's in different schemes here tonight. The numbers do not match up very well. I was trying to figure out exactly who that 34 car was that initially sparked the contact. See the 48 of Rajah Caruth at that point get into it as well, as, of course, he had nowhere to really go. And once it got started, that was really where things just kind of snowballed, I guess, if you will, from there. But still have not been able to figure out exactly who the 34 car was. We'll have to get further confirmation on that here in just a moment. But the rest of the field up front, they were happy to see it happen behind because they didn't have to worry about being involved in it for once. And if we go back and look a little bit further here, saw Rajah Caruth. He was the 48. Larry McDonald up against the wall. And then if you get to Hunter Hastings, that was the 22. Josh McKinney, yeah, that's who it was, in the 34, who's currently being scored in 17th. And he's going to kind of be the spark of this after the contact was made between him and Parsons. I'll give you one more look at it here. That's what sends the 72 up. And as he gets into the 55, sends him into the 22. And it's on from here, the 56, excuse me. But he just starts spinning. Everybody's trying to avoid it. You see a couple cars going low. A couple guys were able to shoot through this, including the 5 car right there. The last second, that was Tyler Forby. Did a nice job sneaking through that one. So they'll clean this one up. Again, there are no fast repairs here tonight in either the feature or, of course, the heats. And so 10 laps, you get damage like that, Matt. I got to think it's kind of a race ender, but, you know, who knows? Maybe you get it fixed up enough to get back out here and at least try to get yourself a little bit further up in the starting grid for tonight's main event. But as it's being scored right now, you've got Kevin Freese being scored as a leader. In that 14 machine, Kyler Wynn in second. And then it's Cody Nagels back in third, Falkingham fourth, Michael Guest in fifth, another one of the Coke drivers in the field here tonight, Jeff Merck in sixth. And it's Landon Veliky back in seventh, Michael Trascaro eighth, Christopher Carter in ninth, and William Price rounding out your top 10.
And that's going to round out your top 10 as those lights go back out on that iRacing.com pace car. And I'll tell you what, Austin, we got a quick glimpse of what green flag racing was shaping up to be tonight. And no surprise, Fries looked absolutely lightning quick out there as well as he was working with the 84 Kyler Wynn. The best part about this, we get to rack him, stack him, do it all over again. Look for some of these Coke drivers you mentioned, you know, Michael Guest and company already up 6 positions from where he started. Really going to see how he forces the issue coming towards the front here in this heat race.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. By the way, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. Hope that you're having a good Thursday evening. As I do want to note, you might have noticed it there on the replay overlay along with some of the other ones. We did update the scoring tower. Been working on trying to get a little bit of a new graphic look slowly but surely for PGR. We've been working on it the last couple weeks, so do let me know what you think. If you like it, don't like it, want to see it changed in one way or another, do the best we can with what we've got. And then also, did want to mention, though, that as part of that, SDK underwent an update today, so that is why it looks like it has actually erased some of the graphics that we had preset before this race. So, for example, when we go back to replay cautions, not the usual PGR replay transition that I had set up, so I apologize for that. But no major issues, not changing anything. Just wanted to let everybody know in case you're wondering. I thought that used to say PGR. The answer is it did, and it should be back to normal again next week. But here we go. Pace car off, turn 4, lights are off. It's go time. And it's especially go time considering it's going to be just 6 laps to go in this race. And man, Kevin Freese, he's one of the best pushers, but when you put him out in front, he is also one of the best leaders. Couple Coke guys, watch for Guest and Falkingham to try to get together and make something happen here. Looks like they're lined up just about nose to tail as we get ready to go back green. Here we go. 6 laps to go at heat number 1. Green flag is back in the air at Talladega.
Friday night local track style shootout here for the remaining of the race in this first heat tonight. It's just like you mentioned already, that 14 of free is going to go up to the high side of the racetrack. Top shelf for Mama Hides the Cookies. He's got Kyler Wynn in tow. In fact, that machine is welded to the bump or the rear bumper of that 14 as they climb through the gearbox and barrel down the backstretch.
And man, that outside is rolling down the straight. Wait till they get into turn 3, though. Maybe that inside starts to get some momentum going back in the right direction. Jeff Merck in the 60. I'm watching for him, Nagels, and Triscaro to potentially make a move on these top two, but nothing doing yet. Now Nagels will dive to the inside. The 39 of Daniel Falkingham will pick him up, and that is a strong trio now on the bottom. 2 Coke drivers and 1 Nightmare eSports driver. Nagels with a big surge. It's a 2-car tandem up top. Now Kyler's going to throw his weight down to the bottom. Kevin tries to get a side drive. Not enough. Kyler goes to the point with 5 to go.
I'll tell you what, that 84 of Kyler Wynn went full-blown Bon Jovi mode, living on a player with that big-time move down to the bottom. Now he goes back to the high side of the racetrack. The 6 is all over him. He gets him loose. He puts him in the wall. How did he save that race car? Absolutely incredible.
Oh, man, they haven't quite saved it yet. They're still trying to figure it out. 4 wide here. Further back to 38, trying to squeak through the middle. This is where it gets really dicey. And I think they're all going to hold it together, at least for now they do. The 60 of Jeff Merck, him and Kevin Freeze trying to regroup on that second line. Meanwhile, Michael Guest now leads, but they're all going to leave him to go to the top. Falkingham in charge up top. He's getting pushed by Nagels and Wynn. They are still 2x2 up for the lead with just 4 laps to go.
4 laps to go. That inside lane is going to fall to pieces, but it's Daniel Falkingham who is rolling deep. Top shelf of the racetrack, and he is pulling ahead of steam right now is Cody Nagels. Dancing toe with him as he gets a shot there from that 84 machine in Austin. That was absolutely ludicrous what we seen just moments ago. They almost wrecked 4 and 5 times as those cars were doing the jig all over the racetrack. But these drivers have the skill inside the cockpits to get it righted. We made under green flag conditions as Falkingham now has a commanding lead as we go on board.
Yeah, it was very crazy and very chaotic. And, you know, now that they've kind of gotten back to single file, it all of a sudden changes the dynamic. Now it becomes kind of that classic super speedway style of everybody stay single file, stay in line, and make that one-shot move once we grab the white flag. Still 3 to go, though. Still some time to make something happen. Kyler Wynn doesn't want to wait till then. He's going to drop down. Nagel sees that, and now he'll try to tandem up with the 39 of Falkingham. We'll see how much momentum it works for these two on the high side. Kyler Wynn and Michael Guest, they also get tandemed up. Now one around out back. That was the 60 of Jeff Merck. Not going to draw the caution, though, as it was just 1 car. Merck tags the inside wall hard. The 60 car is destroyed, but they keep it green up front, coming to 2 to go.
Merck gets murked again. I feel like I'm bad luck for that driver. The last time I was up here in the booth, a similar thing happened, but we go back up to the front of this piece, and it's still 100% let her rip tater chip here at the front of this piece. Michael Guest now slots himself into that second place position. Don't look now, but that inside lane, they are starting to get some numbers, and they are cooking on the bottom of this racetrack. I just don't think they're going to have enough to overcome the amount of energy we have in this top lane, but they are rolling on the bottom. They could be making some liars out of me. Oh, as we have contact. Don't know who that was there in the middle. That yellow car made some contact. That 36 machine. That's being, the HMFIC in the league, Michael Triscaro. They're almost a little self-inflicted poisoning there as we send it back up to the front of this piece. And look at these 2 cars on the bottom. They are welded together just like we saw in the mid-2000s. That tandem draft tried to make it work. And that's currently Kevin Freeze there on the bottom as that outside lane continues to prevail as we're on the final lap one more time around this place, Austin.
I'll tell you what, this is... Oh, do we have one blow up further back here? We did. Kevin Freeze in 14 goes kaboom. The motor on that car expires, and he will be out of it here. Everybody's going to try to get around him. Looks like they do. So back up front we go. Final time down the backstretch. Long single file line on the high side right now. Who is going to make the move? Here comes Falkingham and Nagels. They'll dive all the way to the bottom of the racetrack. Kyler's going to try to drag Guest down the side draft. Will it be enough to hold him off? Here we go. Final time off of turn 4 in heat number 1. Falkingham and Nagels versus Wynn and Guest. Kyler trying to get clear to drop down. Doesn't quite have it yet. One more push from the bottom. They'll drag race all the way back to the checkered, but it looks like it is going to be Kyler Wynn who takes heat 1.
Tyler Wynn dials up a John 4 special at the start-finish line and able to bag the first heat. I'll tell you what, Austin, if the rest of these races keep up the same type of intensity, you guys and all you guys on your phones and welcoming us into your homes watching this live, get some popcorn ready because it's about to be epic in prime time as Kyler gets a win in Heat 1 here right on PGR eSports. And little extracurricular activities there is, well, I guess they don't need those cars anymore, Austin.
Yeah, I was going to say destroying the race car is certainly a celebration I haven't seen just yet, but you never know what you're going to get here. And now that Heat 1 has wrapped up, we're waiting to see if we're going to get results here in time to go over them before we get to this second heat. It usually switches over pretty quick. So if we don't, we might have a chance to go over some of those before the actual feature itself starts. Not sure, these drivers may have a brief warm-up period here tonight before we do officially kick the actual race off. But man, what a crazy finish that one was. In fact, let's go back and take a look at it here. This was coming to the checkered flag, and I mean, this is what we hope to see later in the feature. This is just clean, hard pushing all the way to the checkered flag. Watch this again here. As these two were tandemed up, I'll tell you what, Matt, for probably about, I don't know, it felt like half a track. I mean, once they got together here in turn 3, Guest never falls off of Kyler's bumper. Nagels never falls off of Falkingham's bumper, but you got to give credit to Kyler. I mean, he made that decision, as you see it now transition over here to Heat 2, but you got to give him credit for making that decision to go down to side draft. If he stays up, that outside gets buried, and he doesn't even have a shot at it, so that was a great move by Kyler.
Yeah, and that's a clutch decision there. And a lot of times with these plate races, you have to go by gut instinct. You think about those moves, you hesitate. Oftentimes, you get sent space shuttle status and you're raining parts in the fans. Drive there. What a finish as we now get ready to rack and stack this field one more time for our second heat on the evening.
And again, all the drivers that you saw in Heat 1, they are guaranteed into the feature, at least as far as I know of. The way it was set up in pre-race format, that's how it was set up. Top 25 from each one would advance, and of course there's only 22 and 23 cars in each heat, so everybody will advance to that feature. It was just about setting that qualifying order, so by Kyler Wynn getting that win, it sets him as your pole sitter for the race coming up after Heat 2. Let's get right into it here as the field starts to get rolling. Malik Ray, another one of the Coke Series drivers in the field here tonight, starts from the pole. He put down a 52.062. Garrett Maines, another one of the Coke Series drivers. Those two actually currently in contender this season. He is on the outside in second. Then it's Ken McCullough Jr. back in third. Stephen Miles for Nightmare Esports. He'll roll off fourth in heat number 2. Jared Haynes back in fifth for the Jack Shack. He'll have a teammate in Devin Ray to his outside in sixth. Chris Walker, good to see him back in the field here tonight. He'll start seventh with Nash Brambilla for PGR Esports in eighth. Brock Westmoreland in ninth, and Joe Herta rounding out your top 10.
Starting 11th from the state of Florida, that's going to be Eric Winklesplit in that 24 machine. Outside of him in the 55, it's going to be the 12 of Mike Davenport. Rolling off in that 13th place position, Chase, can you help me out with that last name there,
Yeah,
Austin?
Chase Mastretta. That's a Nightmare Esports driver.
Thank you. I appreciate it. In that 26 machine. Outside of him, Mark Vidal, McCullough Eaton Motorsports. Running out your top 15. Chris, one of my favorite Meltons in the 49 ride. Then you had to go to Team PGR, the 78 machine, going to start off in that 16th place position. Starting 17th, that belongs to Luke Freeman. Well, outside of him, Quentin Steinbach in that number 6 machine. 19th rolling off here, James Wagner in that 30 ride. Well, outside of him, Logan York's going to round out your top 20.
Yeah, Steinbach, one of the fan favorites that you mentioned there, caught my eye inside the top 20. And then moving on back to 21st, it'll be Matthew Baker. We've seen him up here in the booth. Usually duels as race control. Not sure if he is officially racing here tonight or doing race control. And then the bottom of your grid there, Trevor Osronoff, he will start in 22nd. Brief look at the race info again in case you missed it. Again, we're in heat number 2. So the only format that applies right now is the fact that it'll be another 10-lap shootout to decide the qualifying order for the outside line in the field here tonight. 2.5 miles is the distance around 1 lap for Talladega Superspeedway. Track temp nice and cool here tonight, 84 degrees. That'll help handling out a little bit. And cautions are on, but they are relaxed. So if you spin off by yourself, get the car back in gear, get rolling, because you are not going to get a caution. All right, here we go. We had a good finish to Heat 1. Let's see if we can do it again in Heat 2. Green flag in the air at Talladega.
22 cars now up to speed in the second heat from Earnhardt Country as Garrett Maines now leads the charge. Once again on the high side of the racetrack, big time move coming all the way down from the bottom in that number 7 machine as he's closing in now on the back of that 3 piloted by Kenneth. Big time push there coming up to the 2. That's going to give him a ton of momentum as they're still stuck side by side, door to door at speeds over 200 miles an hour entering the turns 1 and 2 complex.
Yeah, and usually we're talking about one of the 2 heats a little bit more stacked than the other. That was not the case here tonight. Both of these heats are maxed out in terms of potential, and man, we are already seeing a lot of bobbing and weaving further back. 3 wide now, Logan York right in the middle of it. He's going to make it 4 wide as he tries to get around the 43. God. York's going to make it work for now, and it looks like he might get some help here from the 24, who at least for the moment appears to be going with him. Oh, another car trying to split the middle. Man, these guys are really going for it early. That's Chris Melton in the 49 trying to make something happen. Steven Miles on the inside. He'll drop in behind Ken McCullough Jr., and all that 3-wide racing out back has allowed this front 5, front 6 to start to organize. But man, another close call, as I believe that was the 8 of Chase Mastretta that jumped out of line.
That was Chase Mastretta that jumped way out of line, and he corrals that race car as he currently rolls just that 12th place position. Fastest man on the racetrack, Matthew Barker, puts down a 47.28. And again, he's also one of the biggest movers out there on the racetrack as he's now up 12 spots. But look at the 5 ride going. Oh, we got big time problems. Multiple cars go aflame. That's going to throw the caution flag. And that Craftsman machine is absolutely destroyed. Jared Hayes in the 16 as well involved. Trevor Osranoff, one of the Jack Shack drivers there in the 89. Mark Vondell, he's going to catch a piece of the action.
Man, Quentin Steinbach all torn up in the 6. You see that left front suspension bouncing around. That'll be a meatball flag, meaning he has to go in to get that car fixed before he is allowed to return to the race. And so, man, let's go back and look at this.
That's what we call huge suspension.
Yeah, you got that right. All right, here we go. And this is just... I'll tell you what, it's going to probably be a similar incident to what we saw in the first heat, just not on the first lap. These guys actually were able to click off some green flag laps before it happened. But let's go to the chopper view first and watch on the outside here. Again, right now we're looking at Quentin Steinbach, but the incident's going to happen in front of the 16 machine. And so it looks like it's going to start with Osranoff and Mastretta. There's a little bit of contact between those two, and then Steven Miles in the 24 gets into the back of Trevor, chases in the wall, and the stack up just... Again, starts to kind of snowball and eventually leads to the 89 getting turned around. He gets down into the 43. You see Miles going around. And there's the 16 starting to spin. Steinbach in the 6. He runs into the 23. Nowhere to go. Vondell's back up the track. I mean, you just got cars going everywhere here. Everybody's trying to keep it together, but ultimately, nobody was really able to. That one collected probably about 5 to 10 drivers. I mean, that was a pretty good sized wreck here for a 20-something car heat.
Yeah, that's what I was counting, Austin. You're right on the money. Look at that. The 59 goes helicopter mode, gets all 4 tires off. I'm surprised that car still has a power plant underneath the hood. As we go back to the instant replay, now as we go on board here with the Jack Shack's own Trevor Osranoff, and you can see it just goes from level 10 to level 1,000 here in the blink of an eye. 8 machine got started lifting a little bit, and he just didn't have any time to react, and that sets off a chain reaction.
And you saw that it was really all kind. I mean, you kind of saw it happen there on his onboard view, and man, that was a huge hit for Vondell. Looking back at it, you saw that car the way it ricocheted off the safer barrier, and then oh man, gets a little nervous right there when you saw the 16 starting to pull back up into traffic. That was Jared Haynes for the Jack Shack. That was not a very good wreck for the Jack Shack drivers. They had quite a few cars get involved in this. As you see the 89, Trevor Osranoff, and then there on the bottom, the 16 of Jared Haynes. Trying to figure out if anybody was able to fully miss this. The 23, I believe that might be Chris Walker. Not quite lucky enough to do that, but I think he may have gotten minimum damage as long as the suspension on that car is okay. So we'll give you one more view of this here before we go back up front and go back live. Watch it from the pit lane cam. And there's the initial contact, and I mean, this is what you fear in the later race, Matt. You know, right now it's just for qualifying position, no harm, no foul. So I guess get it out of the system now, but this happens later in the race tonight, knowing there's no fast repair. Could end a whole lot of nights early on.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mark Vondell got fandoozled head on point blank into that outside retaining wall. And I'm professionally going to say that that was probably the don't stain your ride, use tide moment of the race, as he could possibly be picking out his teeth out of the cockpit there for about the next week after that impact. As like you said, though, often, or much like heat number one, a very similar set of circumstances where the big one pops off near the back of the field.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to re-rack, restack these boys. We're going to let them rip again. And let's see what kind of finish these guys are conjuring up. If it was anything like that first one, I think we're going to be in store here for another thriller here at the start-finish line here in a few moments.
Indeed. Well, it's going to be 5 laps to go here, and I think we're going to get the 1-to-go signal, so I believe that'll set us up for a 4-lap shootout to the finish. We'll have to see what happens. But I'm thinking, if you're Garrett Maines here, you're going to put a lot of trust in the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr. He's one of the veterans of the money racing scene, and you know he won't do anything crazy on you, especially not for a heat when there's really not much on the line. Now, I did want to mention, I talk about these heats are only for qualifying. Well, that's not true. They're actually for a little bit more than that, because the winner of each heat taking home $40. So the winner of that first heat, Kyler Wynn, has already made his money for the night, and he is going to be looking, actually, he made more than his money for the night, and whoever wins heat 2 here will also be playing with house money for the rest of the way. So do want to mention that there will be a little bit extra here that these drivers are going for, knowing what is on the line.
Yeah, Abel, these drivers are going to elevate the intensity to the next level, and you can see it in both of these heat races right off the rip. I mean, everyone's scattering for position. I mean, attacking this racetrack like it's, 5 laps to go. I know there's a little bit more than that, total in these races, but I mean, the intensity is right off, pegging off the excitometer the minute we get back to green flag conditions here at Talladega.
Absolutely. All right. Well, here we go. See, it's going to be trying to figure out how many cars we still had out on the racetrack without any damage, but it looks like everybody's returned so far except Quentin Steinbach, who still sits in the pits. Of course, had major front suspension damage, so that's what's kept him from getting back up here. Let's see. Looking in the middle. Let's see, yeah, Vondell's still pretty torn up. Osbornoff may have a chance. Don't forget, he won a PGR race here in these cars before, so I would not count him out, even though he's got a lot of work to do. One of the things that everybody loves about these Gen 6 cars is the runs are so massive that you can really set up a charge to the front at pretty much any point in the race, even with just 4 laps to go. So that means the intensity here is going to be just about as high as we've seen all night. $40 on the line and a chance to start on the outside of row 1. And so here we go. Ken McCullough Jr. on the outside. Garrett Maines on the inside. The 2 lanes start to separate as green flag is back in the air at Talladega. And it's a good restart for the outside. Ken McCullough Jr. going to get a little bit of a bigger jump here. We'll see if the 03 decides to go down to the inside. Doesn't look like it. He'll stay up top for now. He's got the 24 of Steven Miles doing all the pushing. And man, for Miles, we saw him getting involved just briefly in that last incident, or I thought it was. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Either way, he's on the outside, and they're fading fast here. They're going to need some help.
Yeah, they got sucked backwards like a vacuum cleaner on steroids. Is Garrett Maines in that one machine carries the torch. He leads the charge at the front of this thing with a lot of help there from Devin Ray in that 42 machine. Single file running the top lane here, the high side of the racetrack. That's where you're going to get all the momentum dialed out of this Gen 6 race car as TRD leads the charge here at the front. You got Maines, Ray, York, Malik Ray, and Nash Brella running out your top 5. But don't look now, Kevin Carbon is coming. He is the biggest mover of the race in that 6th place position.
Yeah, and watching Carbon here, he's in prime position to jump to the bottom of the racetrack here with the big run they have, but it looks like that run might start to die out. Melton, the only one down there. He's looking for some help right now, but it's nowhere to be found. The 19 car, the closest one to him, that's Luke Freeman, but even Luke not able to get there just yet. And so that inside line, they're going to have to regroup here. They'll have pretty much 2 laps to try to do so. Once we cross the line this next time, now they're going to start to get some organization. Matthew Baker pushing on the back bumper of Mike Davenport. There goes Malik Ray. The big move down to the bottom. Now the 2 cars going to start to try to throw some blocks. Goes back up to the top. He'll jump in line in front of the 7 of Brambilla. And here we go. They're going to be coming to 2 laps to go. 4 wide out back, 2 wide up front.
popsicle sticks now go up in the air. Just 2 laps to go as somehow Garrett Maines continues to lead the charge. But here comes that bottom lane. They got ahead of steam, being led by that Ford Mustang, that number 7 machine, getting a big time push. Oh, big time Squirrely. He's doing the jig behind him. I believe that was that the 55 ride? Yes, it was, of Mike Davenport. He had it everywhere but straight, and somehow he keeps that race car going in the right direction. Is now we're 3 wide behind him. It is really starting to dial up here at Talladega.
Yeah, Garrett got caught in the middle right there, started to fall back. Lucky that he had Matthew Baker there to catch him, as now they're going to be coming to the white flag. Can they hold it together here through the tribal? It looks like they can. Here we go. 1 lap to go. Who wants the $40? We're going to find out who gets back here first. Logan York still on the point. Nash Brambilla second. Devin Ray back in third. Evan Carlbon, does he jump out of line? And if so, would Jill Herta go with them? Here we go. Final time onto the backstretch.
Final time down to the backstretch for the final time this evening. Well, in this heat, it's still Logan York. Big time moves being made in about that 4th, 5th place position. There goes Garrett Maines in the 1. He's going to jump in front of the 9 machine. He gets a big time push from the 5, excuse me. However, that's not going to be enough as we have multiple cars getting jousted down the racetrack. However, we're going to keep it lean, mean, and green as everyone is Dale Earnhardt themselves behind him to the line. It looks like it's going to be the 23 of Nash Umbrella. As we go through the Geico restart zone, he just needs to hold on to it a couple more feet, and the 7 is going to come across the start-finish line as cars were literally exploding into pieces behind them. What a finish here in heat number 2, as Nash is going to get the W here in heat number 2.
Nash Brambilla, what a performance that was for the PGR eSports driver. Yeah, you see it says 23 there on the official iRacing number, but he's got a custom number 7 on here tonight. For Brambilla, that's the momentum he needed and a good time to get it going into the big feature tonight. He will also now be just simply playing with house money, so he won't have to worry about if he gets wrecked. He can just go out there and be aggressive. And man, that was another pretty good finish there. We saw some chaos further back in 3 and 4. Let's go back and show you that one more time. See if we can, actually. Looks like they may have advanced it here. We may not have a chance to. And, yep, sure enough, they have. All right, so never mind. I guess we won't get a chance to go back and look at the replay, as they have now advanced it to the warm-up session. And that warm-up session here, I believe, is just about 2 minutes. And then we will get gridded up for the main feature event here tonight. All right, so with that in mind, we are going to go ahead and go take another break. We will be back, and when we are, we will get into the starting grid for tonight's feature. Stick with us here on PGR Esports.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got the monkey is prime! This season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good. Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series. Now lining up to go green for tonight's feature event. Let's get right into it and get down trackside and take a look at the starting grid that was, again, determined by the heats here tonight. Kyler Wynn starts on the pole after winning Heat 1. Nash Brambilla to his outside after winning Heat number 2. He will start second. Daniel Falkingham back in third with Evan Carlbon in fourth. Michael Guest, Devin Ray back in row 3 with Cody Nagels and Garrett Maines in row 4. Then you've got Matt Lee, Joe Herta back in row 5. Landon Velicki and Logan York will start in row number 6. Back in row 7, John Mullahan from McCullough Motorsports alongside Eric Winkelspect in the 24 machine. Dylan Jones in 15th with Malik Ray 16th. Then it's Christopher Carter in 17th. Chris Melton back in 18th with William Price 19th and Trevor Oswernoth rounding out your top 20. Michael Triscaro and James Wagoner start back in row 11. Then it's going to be Nathan Harper and Chase Mistretta in row 12. Row 13, Joshua McCullough alongside Mike Davenport. Joshua McKinney alongside Stephen Miles. Those two will start back in row 14. Then it's going to be Justin Edwards and Luke Freeman rounding out your top 30. Tyler Forby starts 31st. Mark Vondell 32nd. Chandler Parsons 33rd. Brock Westmoreland in 34th. Jeff Merck 35th with Jared Haynes in 36th. Then you've got Kevin Fries in 37th with Matthew Baker 38th. Rajah Caruth going to have some work to do tonight. He starts 39th alongside one of the veterans, Ken McCullough Jr. in 40th. Noah Lurch back in 41st. Chris Walker 42nd with Hunter Hastings in 43rd. Then you've got Quentin Steinbach in 44th and Larry McDonald in 45th. Quick look at your race info again in case you missed it. We already got through the heats. Now it's on to the feature, which will be 40 laps at 50% fuel. Unlimited tires here tonight. No fast repair, fixed setups as always, and 3 green-white checkers. Track temp has not changed much. Actually may have cooled down just a little bit as it is now at 82 degrees. All right, here we go. Small money's out of the way, and it's time to open up the big pay window. Here we go. Green flag is in the air. We are racing in the feature here tonight at Talladega. First lap is in the books in the feature here tonight already. 3 wide. Falkingham on the outside waiting for some help from the 54 of Michael Guest. Kyler Wynn, though, leads the middle. He's getting pushed by Garrett Maines. Oh, man. Landon Velicki maybe not realizing that there was a car up there for a moment as that was close. And now caution is out here for the first time tonight. Trouble, I believe this is way further back. It sure enough is. As, oh, that's the 5 of Tyler Forby getting together there with the 14 of Kevin Fries. Fries is going to be able to continue, but, oh, major suspension damage, and maybe not. You get damage like that, you're really not going to be able to continue. That's a tough break for Kevin Fries, as you saw Tyler Forby rocking on by. Looks like he was at least able to get the car back rolling, although he certainly has some damage on the left and right side. And that number 5 FedEx Chevy Camaro. So we'll have to actually look at what happened here. So here we go. Back this up a little bit further. This is going to start in the middle of 1 and 2. You can see there 3 getting 4 wide just for a moment here. And let's see if they do officially make it a full 4 wide. Yeah, they do. Kevin Freeze is going to look to the top, but Jeff Merck, Rajah Caruth in the 48 is trapped on the second lane. And then once Merck and Caruth get together, that's going to, I think, spark a little bit of netcode between the 5 and the 48 that sends Forby up the track. And he collects pretty much 3 of them at once. And then right there, that's what really did all that suspension damage to Kevin Freeze. It broke that left front. It ultimately led to the damage that's going to bring his night to an end. But watch this from a bit of a different angle here. In fact, we'll show you this from the chopper view. As it's just, I mean, 4 wide, it's so tough to do here. It is doable, but you got to give each other room. And right here, it's just, they just don't. And it kind of looks to me like Merck's creeping down. I mean, at least from everything that I can see here, I know it's just tight racing. I'm not trying to put it on anybody specifically, but you can see right there, the 48, he's got his right side tires established on that white line. Caruth is not moving, and Merck just comes down on him, and once he doors Caruth, that sends Caruth slightly down the track, and then, yeah, you can see right here, there's just a little bit of right rear netcode sparked between that 48 and the 5 car. That sends Forby up the track, and once he gets in to the 14 of Freeze, just never really able to get off of him. You see the 22, nowhere to go as well. So that was Hunter Hastings who got some damage. In fact, let's go hop on his onboard view. You know, he had a pretty interesting look through this one. Sees it and then just trying everything he can here to minimize the damage. As he was able to continue on. Jeff Merck, not sure how much damage he sustained from this. Of course, saw him in the kind of initial portion of the incident, but then after that, I thought he got away relatively unscathed. Let's watch it again here from TV1. There's the initial contact. And right here, you see for the most part, for everybody, it's kind of these square hits on the front bumper. But for Freeze, right here, as the 5 gets sent up that second time, see that front end go into the left front suspension of Freeze, and then it's going to hit it again right here, and going to wedge it into the wall right there. And that's really what ultimately kind of broke that left front. And it's going to potentially be the thing that ends the night this early for Kevin Freeze, a driver who we know how much potential he's got as long as he can survive to the end of this race, but not going to happen here tonight. Now it'll be all about if he decides to stay in to try to help somebody else out, or if he decides to call it for the night, but I don't think that's getting fixed. Everybody else, I think they can get it at least worked on to be a little bit better. Of course, no fast repair here tonight, so you can still only do so much, but here we go. Give you one more look at it right here from TV2 wall cam. And there it is out back. All right, so as we go back live now, 4 of 40 laps in the books, so an early caution to kick things off, and it is Kyler Wynn being scored as your leader. Joe Hurta second, with Trevor Osmanoff back in third, Cody Nagels in fourth, with Matt Lee in fifth. Then you've got Garrett Maines back in sixth, Chris Walker seventh, Daniel Falkingham eighth, Malik Ray in ninth, and Landon Velicki rounding out your top 10. By the way, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. Hope that you're having a good night. And I do want to mention something that I mentioned in heat number 1 in case anybody missed it. You might have noticed some of the issues that we had with the SDK overlays here tonight, such as the transition screen not displaying the PGR eSports logo as it normally does. SDK had a major update today, and unfortunately, as part of that update, they decided to break some of the things that have been working perfectly fine for the last however many years. I guess the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, doesn't apply to everyone, but that is the reason that you see some of those issues. And why you see none of the normal PGR logos displaying besides the one that is, of course, being displayed on the scoring tower. And then the other thing is that Matt Mettler right now is not currently in the booth. He's trying to get some issues sorted out. And guess what the issues he was experiencing are? He had to deal with SDK, similar to what I was having issues with earlier. So hoping that we get Matt back here soon, but just wanted to give everybody one more update on that here in case you missed it earlier. How about what payouts are looking like here tonight? Let's go check those out real quick, because I believe we have Matt back in the booth here in just a moment, so we'll get him for this restart now. I mean, look at this. $300 to first, $250 to second, $200 to third, $150 to fourth, $130 to fifth, and then, of course, it was $40 to each of your heat winners. So you figure the maximum amount of money that someone could win here tonight would either be Kyler Wynn or, of course, winner of the second heat race, Nash Brambilla, and they could win $340 if they're able to go back-to-back and win the feature as well here. So it'll be interesting to see, but I believe we've got Matt back now. Matt, you back with us?
I am back with you, and about another 10%, I'll be back in the simulation with you. My SDK, as you mentioned, decided it wanted to uncork a gremlin, completely locked all the graphics up. Similar issue to what you were having earlier, but I believe that is corrected. Just waiting on the finalization here of the sim to load, and I am ready to rock and roll with you once again, my friend.
I think you'll be just in time, too, because we're getting ready for what'll be the first restart here tonight of the main feature event. And with this restart, we need to mention fuel at some point. I don't know if we'll talk about it just yet. Maybe see if we can click off at least 10 green flag laps first, but I would think at 50% in these cars, it'd be somewhere around 20 laps, maybe a little bit more. That would be my general guess. And so if that was the case, it would have been a one-stop race either way. It still would be a one-stop. But if we get to that lap 20 mark or close to it, that's when we could start to talk about maybe the potential of not needing a green flag stop. And boy, that would certainly change the complexity of this race. All right, here we go. Field back in the hands of Kyler Wynn and Joe Herta. Back into the Geico restart zone we go. Green flag is back in the air at Talladega, and it's a good restart for the 84. Kyler Wynn, he'll get a big enough jump to the top in front of Joe Herta. Herta's not going to make the move. He knows that the top's the place to be, as does Nagels and Garrett. They're content to stay in line for now. Falkingham, the 39, further back, along with the 23 of Chris Walker. Oh, man, the bottom's getting greedy. Look at Malik Ray. He's going to jump up to the middle. He'll get some help here from Michael Guest. Question is, does anybody else go to the middle or do they go to the bottom? Chris Melton's going to take a peek at it. Triscaro and a couple of others jumped out of the top but quickly went back to it. And they are 3 wide towards the middle portions. Man, oh my goodness, massive stack-ups. And we're seeing some of the drivers that I believe are running on the higher steering ratios struggling to hold on to these cars, but they all save it yet again. And we stay green as they are 3 wide here off of turn 4.
3 wide off at turn 4 as multiple drivers there doing the icky shuffle, running that higher steering ratio, as you mentioned moments ago. Now that momentum coming back to the top shelf of the racetrack. If you guessed it, the 84, Kyle Wynn, he leads the charge on the outside lane as we send it up to the blip cam here. Look at the one of Garrett Maines, though. He is painting a bead all over the back. Oh, they're going to get a big run, though, Matt.
I mean to cut you off there. I was going to say, watch out up top here. Look at this run. Kyler Wynn, he's not going to take it. The 84, not quite able to stay tandem with the one of Joe Herta any longer. If they could have stuck together, I mean, that would have been one of the biggest runs we've seen all night. Meanwhile, further back, look at this. I mean, this is a mess. They are 3 and 4 wide. Logan York trying to split the 16 right here. That's Jared Haynes. They're still 4 wide. They've got to figure this out soon. This is what can lead to some of those incidents. And when you do all this further back, you don't really catch the front, but that's just the way these cars work. Generates a lot of momentum, a lot of runs from every lane at any point. And now with 8 of 40 laps complete, they are still side by side up front. Now we're going to see another 2-car tandem to the bottom. Guess who? It's the 2 teammates, Malik Ray and Kyler Wynn. They'll get clear in front of Garrett, and they're going to take over the points. Still staying to the bottom, though. Garrett and Guess, now they get locked up. Can they potentially jump to the top? Here comes Joe Herta and Cody Nagels on the high side.
Cody Nagels has it dialed up on the high side. Just as I say that, look at the one machine of Garrett Maines. He's going to try to pull out and pull the side draft for life of a lifetime as he tries to hold on. In fact, that side draft is not going to work as he's starting to get swallowed up. Is everyone chasing the Coke Series driver Malik Ray as he carries the torch, getting a big-time push there from the 84. Hold on to it, Chief.
Oh, man, I can tell they're about to wreck my computer. Certainly didn't appreciate it, but it looks like they save it, so the CPU is going to be able to hold on as well. Oh, my goodness. Joe Herta had a massive moment over there. I was actually trying to locate him here to see if he did indeed hold on. He did, but the question is, did he lose the pack? No, he didn't. He held on to it. Man, what a save this was from Joe Herta. Let's see if we can go back. It was a little blinky at the time it happened. I'm not sure how much we'll be able to see here, but you could certainly see the one start to get sideways. That was for sure. Watch the one car of Joe Herta, as that's the 24. I don't know if that's Miles or the other 24 car. But, man, look at Herta wheeling and dealing here to try to hold on. He saves it here, and then as he starts to correct, this is where I thought things were going to get ugly because you see it starting to blink. Usually a sign of a bunch of cars starting to wreck, but Herta was able to hold on, saves it, and, man, that save just kept the field from pretty much going to oblivion. Nice job right there from Joe Herta, but now he's going to have his work cut out to try to get back to the front.
Yeah, incredible save, though, by Herta there. Just incredible driving. And, in fact, the 24 sparked it, and then I think at the end of it, he may have helped righted that race car. It's just the fact he was able to hold on to the lead pack here, or stay in the draft, I should say. Absolutely incredible. Look, we're still seeing big times moves up here towards the front of this thing. Is that one machine really not content where he wants to run on the racetrack? Now as he pulls out the 39 machine of Daniel, he's going to come with him as that high side lane starts to get some momentum again. And don't look now, they have a third lane trying to get formed up there, being led by the 6 machine. They got some momentum coming now.
Oh, Trevor Oswanoff overshot the middle, and now he's going to get hung out to dry. Good news is he has a teammate here from the Jack Shack. That's Chris Walker in the 23 that's going to be able to pick him up. Matt Lee's in tow as well. As we're kind of taking a view now at the 6 here. I believe is that Evan Carlbon or is that Dylan Jones? We had a couple different 6 cars in the field here tonight, but Dylan Jones in the 32, so the 6, the man that you see rolling on the outside, that is Evan Carlbon. Now the other 6 car of Cody Nagels, he's going to try to take a look to the inside here. Nothing doing, one in the wall out back. That's the 72, Chandler Parsons. Can he save it here? I think he does. Boy, what a save from Chandler Parsons. Immediately, he's going to jump to the apron, though. You wonder if he got suspension damage from that incident. Based off the way it's driving. Oh, man, that's a tough break for Parsons. You see that right front locked up. That's going to be an immediate... Probably that might be a ticket to end his night. And now he's going to loop it around in the pits, too. That'll be kind of insult to injury, I guess I should say, as now the 72 is going to tow it. And unfortunately, that will end another night. But I'll tell you what, Matt, we're learning here tonight that the suspension components on these cars, they've seemed pretty vulnerable so far. I mean, if you get in the wall, they have been very, very likely to break.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised by that. They could have had this update to this Gen 4 on the sim side of or this Gen 6 on the sim side of things, but it seems like you get in the piece of the fence just a little bit, and it is just KOing your race car one way or the other. Speaking of KOing your race car, we are back to 3 wide racing. I have no idea. I was at Michael Guest on the top shelf there in the 10 machine. That's John Mullahan. I don't know if he just stuck that race car to a hole and thought there would be enough room to fit it, but you couldn't put a piece of paper between the rear of that Camaro and the front of that 6 machine. Absolutely incredible piece of driving there as these drivers continue to put on a clinic here in prime time at Earnhardt Country. Big time run again coming from the 39. Puts it all the way to the back of the 1 machine. Garrett Mays with a shootout in front here as we drag race down the backstretch. That inside lane now being led by Brock Westmoreland. He's going to challenge here as we shoot through the 3 and 4 complex. He still has it dialed up side by side, door to door. Fanning out behind him. 3, almost 4 wide. That 56 finds himself in the danger zone again. If you remember going back to Heat 1, he got used and abused quick, fast, and in a hurry. Is now that de-escalates. Things calm down a little bit, back to 2 wide here. That's going to be about that 18th position on back. And in fact, 17th and 18th positions, Malik Ray and Chris Walker, both up 23 positions respectively. So these drivers are not wasting any time. They have their pedal to the metal, the afterburner lit, and they are trying to get to the front of this piece. Garrett Maines continues to beer drive. He's got 2 lanes of traffic to block here. He got 1 rip in the bottom, Eaton on the inside, then the other up in the nosebleeds. And just as I say that, he may have went to the wrong lane as that 43 gets a big time shove from the bottom here. That 3rd lane now starting to become a factor, led by that TRD powered machine in the middle. Typically, you don't want to use the sucker hole like this, but these drivers say, hey, no problem, we're going to make it work. Is the 54 almost got turned and burned by the 89, who's still doing the dance behind him.
And we popped up the driver cams there on the bottom right. Jeff Merck, Michael Triscaro, 2 of the NBG Motorsports teammates, just to show you what all the chaos looks like here tonight. We'll zoom in on each one of these drivers, though, here now. Let's start first with Michael Triscaro. He's a little bit further towards the back of this group. He's in 17th. Actually, I guess I should say he's kind of right in the thick of the chaos. And for Triscaro, got a new rig, new setup, and oh man, trouble out front. Trying to save it. Triscaro, he shot the gap. Did they wreck out back? That's the question. Boy, second pack's rolling up quick. That's another save. They held on to it again. Was that the 20? I'm trying to figure out who that was. Was that maybe Joshua McCullough who had that massive save? Let's go back and look at it. I'm showing reports that it was actually the 54 Michael Guest that had the issue, so I'm assuming that's the car we saw out of shape. Watch this here as, oh no, it's the 89 of Trevor Oswanoff initially. And I'll tell you what, we're seeing it more and more, Matt. Guess what saves Trevor here? The 210 steering ratio. That save, oh my goodness. We got to go back and watch this here first. So Trevor, he jumped. I'm not sure how much ground he actually lost from all this. It looks like right now he's
cut you off.
Yeah.
But did you see how evil that race car was?
Yeah, I saw it. That's for sure. Watch it from the cockpit view. Man, I don't even know what to say.
I'm scraping myself off the broadcast floor with that one.
That was absolutely wild. And I'll tell you what, so I'll explain it to you in just a minute, but watch. This all starts further back here. Kyler wins loose, and it's just Trevor pushing. I think Trevor gets a little offset and eventually starts to hook the 84. Kyler saves it again, and then he's still trying to save it. Eventually, that checks up the line enough where Baker gets in the back of Osranoth, and then Osranoth has to make this wicked save. You see the 43, Richard Elliott, I believe, dived to the inside to miss it. Michael Guest had to go through the grass. But I'm telling you, that save and some of these crazy saves that we keep seeing, and Matt, I know that you maybe haven't, this is mostly a thing I feel like on the super speedway side, is it's this 210 steering ratio. It allows drivers to pretty much do what would be a full range of motion with the wheel with just a little turn of the wheel. So, for example, I barely move to the wheel to the left, and it turns it all the way to the left. That's how they make these crazy saves. Realistically, you're not doing that. But it's a thing that drivers are starting to discover. More of them are starting to experiment with it, and I mean, hey, some people like it, some people don't. Either way, you got to credit it for some of these crazy saves we've been seeing as of recent.
Yeah, I don't have the words to describe that save we just witnessed. That's an absolutely insane piece of driving. As we now get back to the live side of things, here we are, 3 wide again, right around the 40 of Malik Ray, not where he wants to be in that Hornet's nest. However, back up towards the front, it's Garrett Maines who currently leads the charge and is number 1 on that scoring pylon is Daniel Falkingham. Am I seeing that correctly? Up, not 13, not 27, but 37 positions for the driver that currently resides in that second place position. Matt Lee and Cody Nagels and Evan Kilbron round out the top 5 as they currently run right now.
Falkingham right now actually only up a position from where he started this race at. It may have been the amount of positions he was up from one of the last restarts, but I think Falkingham has been doing a pretty good job of keeping the car clean and still keeping it up here for most of the race. Now, Matt Lee, Cody Nagels, those are 2 teammates. In fact, 2 of the Nightmare eSports teammates, and we're going to start to keep an eye on some things here, Matt, because it's 22 laps to go. We've had a bit of a breakup in the field now. We can see a pit stop here from one person. Yeah, that's Kyler Wynn. Wow. Well, that pit stop seemed a little early.
Miscues getting on to pit road there as he almost went John Deere mode, gets it back on the racing surface. Looks like you're going to have 4 or 5 cars come down pit road here. And I think you were just starting to alluding to when will we see drivers peel off and come down pit road. Here is your answer right on cue. As you currently see service underway here for multiple cars on pit road.
It looks
back
like
to 23 down and away.
Did Chris Walker have an issue here? He may have to get out as quick as he did. Did he miss his box? I think he might have missed his box here, Matt. Let's see. He's going down here in the 23. You're going to see him he realizes that, yeah, he missed it. That's definitely what happened. Man, that's a tough break for Walker because he's one of the Jack Shack drivers, and they decided to come in as a team right there to try to short pit this, but by losing them, they're losing one car as, the 19, Luke Freeman. He's going to nosedive into the wall this time as he enters the pits, as now we get a couple more drivers. They're going to bring it down. Joshua McKinney. Looks like Quentin Steinbach. He's been having a good run so far here tonight. He's up 16, 17 spots from where he started this race at. Uh-oh. Did he miss his box too here? Uh-oh, Matt. I'm not seeing him turn to the left. That may be the second driver. No, he's good.
Oh, wait, here he comes.
Wow, and I forgot. Yeah, that's why. So here's what happened for the 6. He didn't qualify on the pole spot. He didn't win either heat. So the reason you're wondering, well, how did he get that first box then, is because the amount of cars that we have here tonight exceeds the number of pit boxes there are. So some of these drivers have to share pit boxes, and so that's why you see the 7 there of Quentin Steinbach with that first box.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought he blew his pit stall as well, but like you said, more cars than pit stalls available out there on pit lane, so we're having to go old school here as now the Viagra machine comes down pit roll. There's the Red Bull ride. Rest of the field now coming down. This all under green flag conditions out there on the racetrack as we send it back out to the live action. That number 1 machine still continues to lead here from Talladega. And look at some of these speeds they are turning in this Gen 6 race car. I mean, we are here, just as I say that, here we go.
Whoa, oh, man, that was close. Holy
get skinny,
moly.
boys. I'll tell you what, these guys know how to attack pit road. It looks like a Blue Angels formation. Beautifully done by these drivers, working just inches off at each other, jumping on the binders at speeds over 185 miles an hour. And sometimes they make it look so easy. There's the 54. He executes cleanly into his pit stall.
And I was looking at here, I'm bringing us back because Oswernoth was back up to full speed. This group decided to go by his outside, and they still had a pit. Watch how close this was for the 7 of Brambilla. They're all trying to get by. Oh, my goodness. Brambilla very lucky to not get turned around right there by Oswernoth as he was trying to get everything he could. And now, as they work their way back out of the pits, Matt, this could set us up for the group that's going to be fighting for the win at the end based off who's able to get back together here. Looks like right now it's Maines and Falkingham, but you can't do it with 2. You need 3, and they've got that. Cody Nagels with this lead group. Looks like Matt Lee and multiple others may be able to tag on to extend as well. There's Logan York, Michael Guest, John Mullahan. Looks like the 24 of Stephen Miles and Dylan Jones are in that group. And then Nash Brambilla, Malik Ray, Joshua McCullough, they're all going to try to get together, see if they can get up there as well. And maybe even this group back here being led by Jaron Haynes has a chance to get to him before this race is all said and done.
They very well may, but 2x2 side by side is not going to do you any favors. And you mentioned these drivers coming off the pit road here. Unlike most racetracks, you cannot be the Lone Ranger out there. You need a dancing partner, a battle buddy, or better yet, 3 cars, just how we have it featured here on the racetrack. That's Maines, Falkingham, and Nagels. 1, 2, 3. These guys have a little bit of an advantage right now, but I'm not sure those 3 cars are going to have enough energy with these guys working together to hold off that pack of hungry wolves behind them if they get it straightened out in time. There we go. We're starting to get this this train settled here. You want to see them single file all working together in unison to be able to run this front group down. As you see there, that Camaro, he's going to quickly get in line, pick up the caboose formation, as that pack is going to try to run down this lead group of cars. And I'll tell you what, Austin, if they do, the fireworks are going to begin. But that's a big question when you have this much talent leading at the front of this thing.
Yeah, and they will catch. I mean, you said it, Matt. They just had to get lined up. They finally did. And, you know, the big thing that's making it tough for this lead pack to pull away here is they really just need one more car. Because what happens is they start to get, you know, all three of them tandemed up, and they run fast, but then they run so fast that Falkingham and Maines start to actually tandem away from Nagels, as you see right here. And, you know, that 2-car tandem works until they eventually have to separate so that Falkingham can cool. And when they do that, they just keep losing time. So even though that gap says 1.74 seconds on the scoring tower, they only have to get within 1.5 seconds to catch a draft. And once they get in the draft, they will get there. So Logan York leading this charge, getting pushed by one of the Coke Series drivers, Michael Guest. I think they're going to get there. It's just a matter of time, and 15 laps to go. You said it. It'll be fireworks when they get there because they are going to have a massive run. As up front, they've picked up a 4th car, but it's just a little too late because it looks like Logan York has now got within 1.5 seconds, now has it down to almost 1 second, and this bridge car is just going to help them out that much more. That's the 22 of, I believe, is that Hunter... Oh, man, watch out. Yeah, that is sure enough Hunter Hastings that they're going to go by. That extra draft is going to make this run that much more massive.
You talk about a massive run. This is going to be a Guinness World Record type of run as York has that race car cranked up to the heavens right now. Look at the closing rate. I mean, these guys are absolutely lit right now. Now, here's the thing. You cannot hesitate with this run. You're going to have to use all this draft as you start to pick up this car just out his front windshield here. And then you're going to want to, or what I would do is try to slingshot here to the high side and bring that whole train with you if you can right on by.
And it looked like he maybe bailed out of the throttle just a little bit. I think he was trying to set up when to make the move. Didn't want to get that run in the middle of the corner, but I don't know. York doesn't look like he took it. Boy, I'm just as surprised as you are, Matt. I agree. I thought when you had the run, you'd have to go up here and take it, but I don't know if there's a little bit of fuel saving in the mindset here for York, or if he just feels like the move in these cars isn't to go for it now, but just kind of wait until we get closer to the end. Or maybe, and this could certainly be what it is, Matt, they don't want anybody else here in the pot fighting for some money, and to do that, they got to stay organized. And so that could be the reason that Logan decided maybe he was communicating with the other drivers in this group, says, hey guys, let's just stay in line for now. Let's make sure that this other group is not in the picture. Once we've done that, then we can get to racing. And if you look all the way back there, Nash Brambilla, who's leading this line, he's about 5.4 seconds off the back bumper right now of Dylan Jones. And now that they're going to have to drop the 7 to get some fresh temps on there, I just don't know if it's going to happen here, Matt. With the amount of laps we have left, they're going to have to really start clicking off some time here. I mean, I'm thinking they're going to have to start making up at least half a second a lap.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're going to have to get some serious boogie wound up under the hoodie if they want to go up here and chase down Garrett Maines and company. And to your point, Austin, that's a savvy race car driver talking about York, of course. I bet you that's exactly what he was thinking, knowing if he took that run, you know, the race car driver instinct is going to be, hey, go on the attack here. We're getting down to the end of this race. However, knowing the amount of speed and energy you're going to give up being side by side, why allow more wolves to contend for the top prize here when you can keep it single file, mitigate the risk, and then pounce when the time is right? And I think that's exactly what the mindset was inside the cockpit of that race car, is Maines continues to lead here at Talladega.
Yeah, he does. And, man, it's going to be coming to 11 laps to go this time. And I just think if you're Falkingham, you're not making this move to the white flag. I think if you're Cody, you're also not making this move to the white flag. It's just the way these cars work. It's not like a one-and-done thing. I guess I should kind of say that a little bit. It's different, right? When you get in the Xfinity cars, the trucks, when you start to see those other lane forms, it's just a gridlock. The run goes to the front and stops there. These cars, that's not the case. I mean, if you time it up right, and this is what I'm curious to see, Matt, you know, you look back, I think the closest comparison for these cars is the newest gen of Cup car, which is, of course, the next gens. But I look back to the Podium 500. Kyler Wynn, of course, got the job done, and now we don't see him in this lead pack right now, but the way he won it, the winning move that he performed in that race was he was in second coming into turn 3 on the last lap. He pushed the guy in front of him, but he set it up so that he tandemed up so that nobody else could be close enough. He stayed tandemed until about the tri-oval and then makes that move. Maybe a little bit sooner for Daytona, but here at Talladega, that would be the idea. If you're Falkingham, if this lap car is out of the question on that last lap, I think you set it up to try to tandem with Garrett going into 3, see how much of a gap you can get, you know, by the time you get to the tri-oval, and then try to jump to his outside, grab the side draft, and see if you can steal one.
Yeah, a lot of different strategy here, and I'm sure that's all starting to go through these teams, the minds of these drivers, especially up here in this lead pack. Is that Western Auto-inspired machine. Obviously, throwback to Darrell Waltrip back in his heyday. He is not the effective leader. He is the last car on the lead lap. Currently, the one Maine's using him as a fuel pig right now. You mentioned fuel mileage coming into the equation again. Well, I'll tell you what, that number 17 machine really helps massage that side of the equation, at least for the one, is typically the car punching the initial hole in the air is going to get typically worse fuel mileage than the cars behind him. So the 17, where he is right now, is doing the one big-time favors. And in fact, could that he also play a catalyst in the end of this thing? Absolutely could, as we still continue to wrap the bottom here at speeds over 200 miles an hour right here on PGR eSports. As it's Garrett Maines, Falkingham, Cody Naggles, Logan York, and the Coke Series driver Michael Guest in that 54 machine that round out your top 5 as they run right now.
Yeah, and if you're Garrett here, I mean, you could care less if there's a lapper in front of you as long as he can hold a pretty straight line as you're pushing, and as long as that second group isn't catching, which right now they're not. I've been watching it here. Malik Ray a little bit further back, but we go up to the man leading this pack, I should say. That's Brock Westmoreland. Still 5.4 seconds back. I mean, that's not going to do it. Initially, earlier, I think I said this was Richard Elliott, but I take that back. That's obviously not Richard Elliott, Brock Westmoreland. But, I mean, man, it's just, there's not really much else they can do at this point. The cards have kind of been made. And so at this point, you got to just hope for a caution. 8 laps to go, though. Front group single file. I don't know if they're going to get one.
You know, and some of these drivers would absolutely be furious if that dreaded yellow came out. And you know, how many times have we seen a lap car influence the outcome of one of these plate races? And that could be shaping up right here as we're starting to get down to the business time of this thing, as we now go on board with Daniel Falkingham, who currently resides in that second place position.
Daniel Falkingham, believe it or not, he's still looking for that first PGR win. You'd probably be surprised to hear that when you hear that he's almost 8,000 I rating. Garrett Main's over 9,000. Certainly a big talent pool here tonight. Logan York back in the 4th spot. Now, we already talked about the move Falkingham could make to win this race, so then you start to ask yourself, well, how does everybody else try to win the race? I think if you're further back where, Logan, Michael Guest, and everybody else behind those two are, I think you got to make this move before the white flag lap. I mean, you certainly could wait if you choose to, but if that front group does what they just did right there, where they start to pull away even just a little bit, you may not have time to get back to them. So I think if you're York and Guest, maybe you make this move with 2 or 3 laps to go. But it's going to be all about, again, how much fuel do you have left coming down to the end of this race? I mean, if you're good to go for overtimes, maybe you push it a little bit sooner than everybody else. And once we get that white flag, fuel saving no longer matters. And I know everybody's good to go to the finish. So it's just going to be who decides to jump out of line first. You look at the drivers who could grab their first win in PGR. I mentioned Daniel Falkingham. Logan York, I don't think it would be his first. Michael Guest, I believe it would be his. And when you look back, Stephen Miles, I believe it would be his first win. I think Mullahan might have one already. Matt Lee, I believe he's got one. Velicki, heartbreak just about 3 to 4 weeks ago after leading coming out of turn 4 on the last lap of the race at Daytona for the first PGR win. Couldn't get the job done there. Might have a shot to get it done here tonight.
So many first-time winners potentially here can break through tonight, and obviously that is a byproduct of restrictor plate racing. How many times over the course of history have we seen drivers punch their ticket and get their first victory right here at Earnhardt Country? But getting back to your point, someone's going to have the cojones, the oversized lug nuts on their race car to initially break this single lineup. Someone is going to have to pull out and break this pack up. Obviously, why do you do that? Well, you start changing up the momentum, you start breaking energy, and that obviously leads to things happening out there on the racetrack as we see the one come up there and give a shot to the business end of that 17. Remember, he is not the leader. He is the last car hanging on for his life on the lead lap. And look at the distance all the way back to that second group of cars right here. In fact, this is not what you want to do side by side. They could be trying to rotate a different manufacturer here to the front. Perhaps that this pack is quicker with that Ford out in front. In fact, you have 2 number 2 vehicles there leading that pack and group of race cars right there as they all keep trying to chase down Garrett Maines and company, as they are the hot hand here at Talladega in the late going.
Yeah, they're trying to, and really what they're trying to do, in fact, we'll go back to the second pack, is you saw them keep having the leader jump out and go to the back. That's just trying to cycle temps. The idea is that the guy in second pushes without letting off until he gets so hot he's about to blow up. Then you jump out and just cycle to the back. The next man comes up and starts doing the pushing. The problem is that's not really working out too well. They've been trying it, but just not gaining enough time. It's been, kind of fluctuating between 5 and 6 seconds. And it seems like they gain when they're pushing like this, but then every time they switch, they just lose all the time they've gained back. So 4 laps to go. Malik Ray, he's going to bring it down the pit here. I'm not sure if it was a fuel issue or if he's just going to, hope for a late caution. I'm not sure, but either way, that second group's going to need one. As see Jeff Merck and a couple others here coming out of the pits. Kyler Wynn, Joe Hurd. I wonder if they were a little short on fuel, as now it is just 2.5 laps to go. Remember, though, we've got to get to the white flag before this race will be deemed official. Falkingham now going to start to grab the wheel a little bit tighter as he closes that distance on the back bumper of Garrett Maines as they work into turn 3.
Garrett Maines in the back of turn 3 as there is smoke just out of the main frame in front of these guys as that clears off the racetrack. As he currently rips the bottom line over right here at Talladega. That 39, a little bit of an offset bump there. You want to make sure you're squared up in this race car. Oftentimes, bad things can happen when there's a push gone wrong here late in the race. Now, as those two cars work together, the 6 now works into the picture here as he's about a quarter of a car length behind the 39 ride. As we fire again here down the backstretch. When do these drivers start to make a move? When do we start to break this lead pack up?
Well, I'll tell you what, Matt, what they're doing right now, at least some of these top 3, is they're trying to set up. And here we go. Watch out back. A couple of them going to jump up. Jones is trying to follow. Here we go. We wondered which part of this pack was going to jump out first. Lee and Velicki, 2 teammates, have gone out to the outside, but they've got to get linked together. Looks like the Ted's going to jump up too. It's going to take this outside line. A little bit of time as now Nagel's trying to block. Didn't work, and now he's stuck in the middle waiting for his teammate Miles to get to his back bumper. There's the big push. Here we go. White flag in the air.
White flag in the air one more time around the big house here in Earnhardt Country and Garrett Maines still continues to turn and burn here in Talladega. The front three have been gridlocked. That's Maines, Folkingham, and Logan York. Those are your top three. But right behind him, here comes a big-time push on the high side of the racetrack. How did he fit through that hole? Multiple cars doing the jig. It's a drag race at the front, side by side. Momentum on the high side. 3 wide now.
Oh, boy,
These
here
cars
we
are
go.
scattering everywhere.
Folkingham, he made the move. Garrett tried to block. He couldn't do it. 2 by 2. Final time off of 4. Nagels is going to get turned. He's going to save it, but a couple lose it out back. Folkingham has no help yet. Can York try to pull out a line to steal it? Logan York's going to try to fade high. Nothing there. Back to the bottom. Nothing there either. Garrett Maines wins it at Talladega.
What a drive from Garrett Maines. He said, no help, no problem. I'm going to pull this thing and I'm going to put it in victory lane as he's the first one across the line in that Smithfield Chevrolet, or that Smithfield Toyota, excuse me. That was a nifty piece of driving there by Garrett Maines as he had to block a couple runs there. He did not leave the bottom of the racetrack open, and he punched his ticket here at the end of this thing. What a drive from the one. And, you know, if you go back here to the instant replay, take a look at this, Austin.
Yeah, this was wild. Coming off of 4, it's just everybody pushing and shoving for all they're worth. And you can see Matt Lee here trying to give Nagels a shot. The only car that you can really try 3-car tandem, but they just start to get offset here, and then Lee's going to try to get back behind him. He's getting pushed through, and just eventually it doesn't work out. I'll tell you what, Nagels is wheeling and dealing. That was lucky that the 39 of Folkingham didn't get hooked around there. That's what I thought was going to happen when I initially started to see that kind of unfold. And then at this point, all the help's on the bottom. Folkingham's going to come down to side draft for all he's worth, but it just, I mean, it doesn't matter at that point. Just nobody chooses to jump up. They all stay on the bottom, and then you're going to see York here. I don't know if he was taking a peek at it or if he was getting pushed through it. I think York was trying to take a peek at it, but he kind of realizes, actually, I'll tell you what I think he was doing, Matt. I think he was hedging his bets right here. I think what he was doing was seeing if he could take a peek at it, and if it wasn't going to be there, still be in a spot where Veliky couldn't get to his inside. I'm curious. We'll ask him in driver interviews, but I think that might be what York was doing right here. Because watch what he does. He's getting a big push from Veliky, but he's not going to full commit here when he gets the run. I mean, he gets a push here that I think arguably is enough to at least try to jump up, but he doesn't quite make it there. He's got one more shot at it here, but yeah, I think he realizes that it's just not going to happen, so he immediately just tries to make sure that he can at least cover the bottom here. And, I mean, for Veliky, there's nothing there. And
another split second, not to cut you off, and that 0-1 is most likely put into the fence there. So great decision making, and I agree with you 100%. I think he was trying to test the waters to see if that move to the high side was going to be there. Just didn't have enough momentum in that race car, so quickly tucks it back in line. But I still think if he waited a 1/10 of a second longer, that could have been a completely different outcome there for the driver of the 0-1 machine. I mean, let's face it, no one is lifting in a money race coming to the line at Talladega. It's just not going to happen.
yeah, that's for sure. Well, either way, as we take a look at your finishing results, Garrett Maines again is your race winner. Logan York brings home second. Landon Veliky back in third. And it's Dylan Jones in fourth with Stephen Miles to his outside back in fifth. Daniel Folkingham, man, what a tough break. I said, well, was it top 5 or top 6 payout? I mean, you saw Folkingham. He was side by side for the lead on the last lap coming through the tri-oval, but unfortunately, top 5 payout. He is the first man out of the money spot here tonight. Then you go back to the 7th spot. It's Michael Guest. Cody Nagels back in 8th with Matt Lee in 9th. And Nathan Harper rounds out the top 10.
Nash Umbrella is going to come on that 11th place position. Well, the Devin Ray in that 42 machine is going to come home 12th. 13th belongs to Jared Hayes piloting that 16 machine. Well, the 49 ride of Christopher Melton is going to come across the start-finish line of that 14th place position. Running out your top 15, that's Joshua McKellar. Well, looks like Brock Westerland's going to come home 16th. 17th belongs to the 55 ride of Mike Davenport. Well, Michael Trascaro is going to come home 18th. 19th, Chase Mistretta. Well, Matt G. Baker is going to round out your top 20, Austin.
And you've got John Mullahan finishing 21st, Malik Gray 22nd, Kyler Winback in 23rd, Joe Herta 24th, William Price in 25th with Chris Walker 26th, and it's Evan Carlbon back in 27th, Eric Winkelspect back in at 28th. And rounding out the top 30 here tonight is Joshua McKinney and Trevor Oswernoth.
And these drivers finish one lap down or more. 31st position is going to come to Austin, if you can help me out with this
Yeah,
guy's
that's
name.
Rajah Caruth, and then 30 seconds, Ken McCullough Jr.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. 33rd is going to be the 25 of Christopher E. Carter, while 34th is going to be James Wagner. The 19 of Luke Freeman's going to come home 35th, while Justin Edwards in the 11 is going to finish 36th. 37th belongs to Justin Edwards, while Jeff D. Murdoch comes home 38th. Moving across the start-finish line, 39th, that's Mark Fondell, while Hunter Hastings, Tyler Forby, and Noah Lurch round out the back half of the field. Oh, excuse me, as I rotate the results here, Kevin Freese is going to come home in that 44th place position, while running out the 45 drivers that took the initial green flag is going to be the 72 of Chandler Parsons.
And then Quentin Steinbach, by the way, was credited a 33rd place finish, as we will now go back to the top and go see if we can find your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Going to start first here tonight with your 3rd place finisher for Nightmare Esports. It's Landon Velicky. Landon, this is Austin and Matt up in the booth. You get a copy. Yeah, it looks like don't have anything from Landon just yet. We'll give him just a moment here. All right, there we go. Hey, Landon, this is Austin and Matt up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, well, you bring home a 3rd place finish. You fail to win yet another PGR race, but still a good finish overall. Tell us a little bit about some of the chaos out there.
Well, man, you say it like that. I finally got my podium, Austin.
Yeah, I had to give you a
finally
hard
got
time.
my podium.
Well, I had to give you a hard time, but it was... Hey, I mean,
had to.
at the end, boy, it looked like you might have had a shot to even take 2nd or fight for 3rd. You and Logan, I thought, were going to have one more run, but it looked like you just started to die out. What happened in the tri-oval?
I just got locked in on trying to get 3rd, honestly, at least 3rd. Logan was complaining, saying I was trying to turn him or something in the exit of the trial. I wasn't trying to do that. I was just like, hey, there's my podium. It's right there in front of me, and I finally got it. I am so happy it's about time. I remember Baker was giving me hell about it. Like, how do you not have one yet? I was just talking to Garrett. He's like, how do you, like, that's shocking. How do you not have one yet? Well, I finally got it. So maybe, just maybe, this was some, well, what am I trying to say? Positive momentum, finally. I hope so, at least.
Yeah, kind of the spark that lights the flame for sure. I mean, a good run here tonight, but I mean, overall, we had 2 heat races. We knew everybody was going to be locked in, but it seemed like the feature itself had a pretty clean feel to it, especially in the second half of the race. How were you able to set up for that, especially with all the chaos we had early on?
Well, I mean, with these cars, especially, like, if there's like a green flag pit stop, it just separates everybody. And you saw that in that race. Like, it was kind of, I don't even remember how many cautions we had. I mean, probably like 3 or something at the beginning, 2 or 3. But that happens and we finally get to the green flag stop. But the thing was, that caution on like lap 3 or something made it a 1-stop race. It was like a 2-lap difference. So everyone was kind of chilling out a little bit. And then we finally pit, and that separates kind of the men from the boys, you know. And it always does with the Gen 6 car and the next gens. And that's what you saw there. The top 10 of us right there, that was a really strong group of guys that just nailed the pit stop or just got lucky and didn't get screwed on pit road. That's what you saw right there. And then from then on, it was just kind of saving. That's why we were single file, trying to get it to make sure we could get it at the end. Garrett ran out like on the cooldown lap. Baker did. I ran out doing a burnout. It was super, super tight, but in the end, we all made it. And I think you saw what honestly it should be. You saw the best of the best go at it, try and strategize how to win the race right there, and you got a good finish out of it.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Landon, before we let you head out here tonight to go celebrate the first podium, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Oh, I want to thank Nightmare, best team in money racing. Matt, Steven, Chase, Cody, we were all in this race. Danny Falkingham was running with us too. Really appreciate them. I was hoping he could get a podium because he really wanted one tonight. Hey, I want to thank whoever, I guess it was Malik, getting Raja out here. That is so cool. Getting a truck series driver. I know we had Parker Retzlaff a little while back, but it's so cool having someone like that, a name like that coming out here. Thank you all for the broadcast. Triscaro, Baker, everyone at PGR. It's got to be who I got to be missing somebody. Hey, Mom, Dad, we finally did it. It's about time. Finally went out there and got it. I know they've been waiting for that for about the longest time. Whatever, I don't know how many months I've been doing this now. It finally happened. We're gonna have a party tonight. I'm telling you.
All right, there you go. Well, Landon, we appreciate you talking to us again. Congrats on the third place finish. I think that win's coming pretty soon. Hopefully, we'll see you again next week.
Oh, you will. You will.
All right, there you go. Well, now that'll bring us up to your second place finisher here on the night. That's Logan York. Matt Mettler stands by with him.
Logan York, Matt and Austin up in the booth. You got a copy, bud?
Yeah, I got you. What's up?
Hey, man, you're what's up. First of all, congratulations on a second place finish out there racing some of the best competition on the iRacing.com servers. Right off the rip, I got to ask you, coming down last lap of this race, what is going through your mind at the cockpit of that race car? It looked like you thought you kind of had a run there. You were going to go to the outside, and then the last minute, you turned it back down to the racetrack, and you got it literally, that race car, back in position in a nick of time. What was the thought process there as you were coming to the checkered flag?
Yeah, I didn't really want to be on the top line because I figured there was more of a chance of someone taking my right side and just side draft me out of the pack. So I figured I'd go to the bottom and then have the lines be tight so that at least I'm kind of guaranteed to stay in the line I'm in and push Garrett. I kind of wish Landon would have pushed me in the tri-oval instead of trying to turn me. I know he didn't try to. I was just messing with him. But yeah, I wish he would have pushed me so we could have had a run. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it's not really much. You don't really have much time to think about, especially with all that movement on the backstretch on the last lap. Yeah, I just wanted to get to the bottom.
You know, you mentioned the runs in this Gen 6 race car. It really seemed like when you had a head of steam dialed up, it really sustained in that race car, and you were able to, at times, really do things with that kind of momentum. Was that how it was inside the cockpit of that race car? It just seemed like you were able just to, number one, dial up more speed with this Gen 6 over the current race car, but then it didn't seem to stall out like it did with the next gen. It seemed like you were able actually to make moves out there on the racetrack, which ultimately made this a very thrilling and exciting race.
I'm not sure. I feel like the drafting is the exact same with the next gen and the Gen 6. It feels like the runs are huge, and then the side draft is just as strong in the next gen. Only really difference I feel is the handling. It's different there for sure. I compare the this car to the handling of like the truck or the Xfinity car, and it drafts like the next gen. But yeah, the runs are huge, and yeah, if you're fast enough to break the bubble, then yeah, you can make moves the entire. You can make moves for last, and you can make moves for the lead. It does not discriminate.
Well, thanks for that excellent analysis and breakdown. And then before I turn it over to you, man, how are you able to survive all the chaos out there on the racetrack and ultimately come home with a phenomenal second place finish tonight?
Yeah, at the beginning, I just kind of stayed on the bottom to be a little safe because the side draft is so strong. It pretty much feels like you're riding in a stroller whenever someone's close to you. But after the halfway, I don't remember the halfway point. I don't remember when that last pit stop happened, but it was a little bit before that. I started to make my way up to the front, and then just tried to execute on the pit stop so that we could come out with the lead pack. And fortunately, I was able to be in that 10-car pack, and then I think Guest was pushing me, and then we caught up to those three that were pushing that lap car. And yeah, that's pretty much how it happened.
Yeah, you're certainly getting it done in the trenches on pit road tonight, and certainly came out under green flag conditions with excellent track position. And before I cut you loose, man, who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done on that 01 machine?
Yeah, I want to thank my teammate Nathan Harper. He ran with me this race. Probably Band Group is our team. I want to thank Landon for the push at the end, not turning me. I want to thank Guest that helped me, helped all of us catch up to that lead bunch of cars. pretty much all that helped me this race.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Jochen Lork puts on a heck of a performance on the racetrack, is flawless in the pits, and puts on a heck of a performance here tonight in Earnhardt Country. He's your second place finisher, sending it back up top to you, Austin.
All right, thanks, Matt. Now that'll bring us to your final podium finisher here on the night. And of course, it's your race winner, Garrett Maines. Garrett, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, you get to win here tonight. Certainly not your first one, but man, these Gen 6 cars, they are tough to tame. What was going through your head there on that last lap?
Oh, I wasn't winning that race. That's what I thought. Thankfully, Chris Carter was able to stay in front of us there long enough for us to save some fuel, and I think that was like mutually beneficial to everybody in that pack, because otherwise we would have been super disorganized and just like not able to negotiate who was going to lead and who was going to burn the fuel. But that put me in a situation where I could like literally sputter at the line and have a chance. But man, I just wasn't sure what to do. Like, everybody there was kind of in a fuel save mode from the get-go, and nobody wanted to duck out of line until the last second. And I knew I was an odd man out there. There's a lot of people there working together, and I think Logan was probably the odd man out of that group, and the fact that he came to me, like, that made up for the heat. I really appreciate him pushing. That was like literally clutch. I was pretty much dead in the water if he didn't come to my back bumper there. So, everything coming off of turn 4 absolutely fell apart for the outside line. I'm not really sure what was going on there, but handed me and Logan a 1-2. So I will take that.
Well, it seems like there's certain series that we see certain drivers just start to figure out, and PGR is certainly one of the series that, once you broke through with that first win, you've been able to find victory lane a couple times. And is there something, do you start to figure out a series as it goes on over time, or is it just more so a mixture of luck at the right time and the right day of the week?
Yeah, we change cars like every week in here, so I feel like part of it is just, getting familiar with people you're racing. Some of it is just literally having experience in this stuff over time, just starting to learn the package. There's no question, back when, I think it was last summer, I don't think I cashed for 3 months. It was pretty rough. And some of it was coming off the final corner leading, but I felt like I started to learn where to position myself to not die more often than not. It's never foolproof, but kind of changed my attitude as to how I was approaching this stuff. And, the package changed a lot, which I think had a lot to do with, some of my better runs, just because I tend to run by myself. And so you kind of have to be able to control lanes. Not as much in this car. I didn't feel like there was much I could do here. It just worked out that nobody got organized. But, in some of those other classes, especially Xfinity and, some of the legacy cars, it's just a lot more of knowing where to put your car and when to do it. And I feel like that plays into my hand a little bit better than some of this other stuff. So I'll take it on nights like tonight where I didn't really feel like I had a chance, and, we sort of backed into it.
Well, you certainly look like you had a chance tonight, and it pays off big time. So, hey, Garrett, before we let you head out to go celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I kind of forgot. I'm supposed to use the word rendezvous at some point in this interview, and I'm not really sure where I was going to work that in, but, I guess this counts. Shout out to Logan for, the push there. Big thank you to him. That was, I literally got to give credit to him for this win, because there is no shot that I was going to be in that position without him. So big thank you to him. And also thank you to Scott at MCU Body, Lennox, and the guys at Ryko Performance for all their support this season.
Garrett, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the race win, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, Austin.
All right, there you go. Well, that's pretty much going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. What a crazy race that one was, Matt, but I'll tell you what, a little bit of chaos in the heats and some chaos early, but after that, they cleaned it up nicely, and we had ourselves a pretty long green flag run around out that race.
Yeah, it certainly was. And you expect that from this caliber of driver that we had on display in the field here tonight. Ultimately, it was Garrett Maines putting on a show, who was just able to best out Logan York and Landon Velicki. Those drivers put on an insane performance here this evening. And also, I got to say, it's great to be back up here in the booth with you, Austin, right here on PGR eSports. The late month, the September into October was not nice to us here in the state of Florida. 2 hurricanes and a tornado outbreak, and that's what did a lot of the damage to myself here, which took me offline for a little bit. But it's great to have everything back up and running and being up here in the booth, being alongside you, calling all the high-octane racing action right here on PGR.
Indeed. All right. Well, that'll wrap it up here tonight. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope that you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, alongside Matt Mettler on PGR Esports. And until next time, have a good night.